Welcome to Single Parent Success Stories, a podcast designed to inspire single parents. Here you'll find resources from self-care to finances to parenting and everything in between. Discover what it takes to thrive. Let the stories inspire you to what is possible. Hello and welcome to Single Parent Success Stories. Today I have the pleasure of introducing Raju Panjwani, who has
Very well said. For a name like mine, it always gets butchered, so it's
Did I do a good job?
perfect. Very well done.
Raju is a single parent, and he has a very important story to share that I think will help individuals who are struggling. What is possible? Please welcome Raju Panjwani.
Hey, thank you for having me, Irina. So I think you're on a good mission. I applaud you for pursuing your passion to help others who are single parents, and I think I certainly have the appreciation for what it takes for a woman, a single woman in the United States of America, to be a parent. And maybe it's more difficult for men. I don't know, but it comes naturally to women. But I can only imagine what it is. So thank you for having me.
Yes, and I didn't want to, just to show a woman's side of the story. You're the first man to share your point of view, what it is like, surviving, being there.
Mm-hmm.
And please share your story with us. Did you become a single parent by choice or by accident?
So let me just tell you that I was a single parent twice in my life. Mm-hmm. So the first time I actually asked for a divorce of my wife, which was an arranged marriage. We had two kids. They were 6 and 11 when we separated. So I became. I shouldn't say that I was a single parent. So to be clear, because she's alive and well, and but in the sense that I had the joint custody with her. So I had and I spent most of my weekends with the kids for many years. So in that sense, I felt single, and so that's not a good definition of that. But the second time around, the only woman I ever loved, the first one was an arranged marriage, and it was just we just didn't grow in love, if you will. So what happened was I met the lady who became my wife. She was American, and we had an amazing relationship, and we had two kids. So I have a boy and a girl from the first marriage, and two boys from my second. And so that wasn't by choice. She got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and so she from the time that she was diagnosed to the time she passed away was about three and a quarter years, and then this year will be 5 years since she passed away. So effectively, I always say almost primarily like 8 years of being a single parent, but I'd say technically 5 because she was alive, and while sick, I had to juggle everything. So anyway, yes. So I'm a single parent to two boys, effectively, for the past 8 years, minus the 3 that she was alive.
Thank you. What were the struggles and things that you overcame?
So we were living overseas when she got diagnosed with cancer. We were just there on assignment. I had already had lots of trouble with my companies that I had started. 2 of them were in India, 1 of them was here. So it was like running around between New York and Mumbai was not easy. So we decided that in order to get some sanity and some centering, that we should move the kids and all of us should go to India. So we were living there for about 2 years or 2.5 years. Things were starting to stabilized. I had lost a lot of money in my businesses. And as the boat was getting stable and over the couple of years, and one fine day, we just found out that she had this cancer because she had almost no symptoms. And we were playing tennis one day and on a Sunday, and then she just decided that something wasn't right. And within 2 days, we knew she was stage 4 cancer, and they gave her 3 months to live. So not only I had just these major financial struggles trying to get my startups back on track, and they were coming back on track, I had this really horrible news. So there was no way that since all our families, our support systems are in the US, that we were going to do anything in India. So we literally in 2 days left India to come back, and I had to abandon my businesses because that's not a good word, but it's just my focus became my wife and my children, which is where I thought the priorities were. So there were consequences of my behavior or action that I knew was going to be in the finances. But at that point, I just figured I'll beg, borrow, steal, do whatever to focus on her. And if she was only going to be given 3 months to live, I'm like, well, it turns out it was 3 years that she lived, largely because of, intervention and drug therapy and chemotherapy, etc. So the surgery was one thing, but then as you start to do chemo, it's just a never-ending battle, particularly at that stage of stage 4.
Right.
But my kids were 9 and 13 when she got diagnosed, so it was they were pretty young. So that's the scenario in terms of what the struggles were. It was like, what am I going to do? So what action, what decision do you take? So it was focused on her and the kids, and therefore it meant no matter how many hours 24 hours I worked, it would be. So yeah, that just meant I slept only a couple of hours a night. I did whatever I needed to do. I had the blessing of having an amazing family that was there to help. But clearly the kind of help they would give would be more emotional support, but all the logistics stuff of, cooking, cleaning, taking care of, taking her to the doctors and hospitals and in and out and admissions, and all of that was just par for the course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So emotionally speaking, you were by yourself and dealing with the situation and the stuff that was inside of you. Clarity.
Well, I'd say that it was a shock, and I think the emotional support came from the family with me.
Right.
I had to find the strength because I could sit there and, cry or do whatever about business, company, kids, and as a guy, it's very hard because parenting doesn't come naturally to men. And while I think of myself as an extraordinary father, it has to be intentional. So,
yeah.
I could simply be on travel and say, hey, how's it going, honey? How was the chemo? And I would get no appreciation for that, I'm sure. So I decided that I wasn't going to be that type of a husband, that I would just be remote. I'd be there front and center and in charge of whatever I had to be in charge of. And so, yes, I cried. I did all the things that, emotionally you have to deal with. But at the end of the day, support is what got me to dig deeper, because when God or whatever nature gives you a problem, you also get the strength of, you have to also have the inner strength that you have to go find so you can then deal with whatever it is that you're dealing with. So it's not just about the death, it's just about divorce as well, right? So you just never know what problems are going to be thrown at you. And by the way, and we can dig deeper in here, because until that time that she got diagnosed, I had nearly died 3 times before. And in 2 of those situations, my kids were involved as well. So, and we all survived. So we know, we kind of had the benefit of surviving these crazy situations. The tsunami, for example, in 2004.
Right.
my boys were 2 and 6. My daughter was 19, and my wife and I were all together in Sri Lanka on a 1-week trip.
Mhm.
And we almost, we were all swept away, and we were all considered dead, drowned, whatever. But then somehow we survived, and nobody died. And so that's the happy story. But we just found that the people in the sea of humanity that is out there when a disaster strikes, they're all there to help. And I found that that was a turning point in my life. So when 10 or 6 or 7 years later, it was my wife who got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. You know, like, what more can life throw at you, right?
Right.
And that was my worst nightmare, the tsunami, because I was hydrophobic. I had drowned before. I was rescued before.
Mhm.
So there's all this water disasters, and the lesson is don't go near the water. But you never know. And just a month before she got diagnosed with this cancer, we all nearly drowned in a boat accident in India.
Oh.
So it's just like, we are survivors. So you go, what more can life send you? And then then a month later, she gets diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and I go, oh my God, my kids will lose her, a mother, and what am I going to do? So we all think, well, what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
We think about the worst scenario, but instead of that, the question ought to be, well, what can I do now? What is it that life wants me to do? Yeah. So you can hide, commit suicide, you can cry, you can do anything, you have all these options. Or you can say, I'm not going to fight because I'm going to accept. I'm not a fighter. Life is not about fighting. Life is about embracing where you are, and then figure out where your strength is to go find that, and then do something to solve whatever you need to solve for.
Right.
And I'm just lucky to have my kids who are just as young as they were. They've been resilient, and they've been survivors, and they just get up and go. And it's like, I hope they don't have any major issues going forward. But boy, it's been very hard for them. I'm sure I can only imagine how hard it is for them to lose a mother.
Yeah. So how are you feeling today in present situation, given that the struggles that you overcame and the things that you experienced in your life?
Well, I mean, every day is a gift. So we know the gift. We know the gift of life is, hey, hold on to the most important, things you got. And if it's kids, that's important to you, and relationships and your feelings, that that's the shortest. Life is it's on such a short leash, right? So you wake up in the morning and say, this is a gift. And I'm not just saying that because I'm Zen or I'm meditation, blah, 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 all those things. I do those things too to keep me centered. But I do think that we all have to be intentional, because it's easy to get upset about, well, you didn't pick up this, the place is dirty, and you didn't do your chores. Or you can say, am I going to spend my energies on that? Or am I going to say, how are you today? Or somebody one of my kids calls me, instead of saying, you haven't called me for a week, I sent you so many messages. Who taught me that? Was my wife. Oh, how does that make you feel? Right. So my daughter would call. It would be like, I left her 3 messages, and she calls me after a week. She's busy doing with her at that time boyfriend or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And the first 5 or 7 minutes already I destroyed the conversation by asking her all these questions. And then we have a 2-minute conversation after that, and you both hang up, and I don't feel good. Mm-hmm. And so my wife would say, well, how is that helpful to buildings relating with your daughter? So I go, yeah, you're right. So it through these practices, when you start doing certain things, I never for the past 5 or 7 or 8 years ever now, when my son or daughter, any of my kids calls, I know just to pick up where you are. Hey, how are you? What's going on? And then it's a pleasant conversation, because it's not I shouldn't have said that. So I think one of the things I've learned is that whatever you do, whether your work, your business, your parenting, you have to first be intentional from within. I actually had the opportunity to be at a certain course which was called 5 Choices, and it was about choices we all make, and roughly we have, only so many choices about a particular situation that you have, and here are your 5 choices. So it was kind of the thing. But one of the things was about, what is your intention to be an extraordinary employee, business owner, or a parent, or partner, or a friend? Well, in all categories, do you want to be extraordinary? Well, what does that mean to be extraordinary? Well, I don't know, whatever it means to you. And so you come up with, well, in order for me to be to leave my legacy with my children, or with my friends, or my family, or my employer, if I die today, what would they say about me? So what do you want them to say about you in your eulogy? So I started doing those things. So when you start journaling about things like that, you're writing your eulogy that somebody else is speaking. So now you say, these 5 sets of people, my friends, my family, my employer, or my partner, or my business, or my lover, or my husband or wife, what would they say about me if I was dead? And so when you start writing the facts of life, well, I yelled at her, and then this happened, and then we fought about this, and people will say nice things about your eulogy just to say nice things. But if they meant it from the heart,
Right.
I wouldn't want my wife to say, oh, he was a terrible guy, but I'm going to just make up some story about how nice he was. But you want to be genuine. So you say, okay, well, that's what I started to write. So when I journaled a lot of these things, it made me believe that, yeah, whatever that extraordinary friend, parent, spouse, father, grandfather you want to be, you have to choose it. And then communicate about that. So that's what I do. That's really what I do. So is it a struggle? It is. It can be. But I don't suffer the struggle. The struggle is accepted. But you don't want to suffer. Suffering is a choice. So
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm babbling away and saying all these things.
No, it's good. That's good. I think journaling is important, and setting the intention for the day, for the person you want to be. And yes, when we are gone, how do we want to be remembered? Not some fluffy story about just to sound nice, but coming from the heart, speaking, for the actions that you did, and maybe you change somebody's life for the better. I think that is very, very important. If you could go back in time, would you do anything differently in how you acted about situations? Would you change anything if you had that choice? Or what advice would you give to your younger self, knowing what you know today?
Well, we don't want to regret things, right? So if today was my last day, or yesterday was my last day, but I'm going back in time, well, if I had only thought those things early in my life, and I learned those things in my life, maybe my perceptions and the answers to dealing with questions, or the responses or reactions to the situation would be different. So yes, I wish I hadn't said those things to her before she died, or had done this or had done that. But it's life. So you accept that, no one's perfect, and I'm far from perfect. And I don't want to come across like, oh, well, I'm this amazing person. No, I'm blessed to have had the experiences, so that you feel the pain of that experience, and you say, what is it? You gotta find the meaning in whatever you're experiencing. I could simply, and I know people who were swept away in the tsunami, who did not experience as much of a PTSD as we did,
Mm-hmm.
or chose not to. That, oh, it's all good. A lot of people survived. It's okay. Or you can find the meaning in what experience you had about that. So for me and my wife, the meaning was what other people, this big, huge, population was just so poor, and look at those poor people. And when you're caught up in this situation, you're nobody, right? No matter how wealthy you might be, or however big shot you might be, it doesn't make a difference, because you're equal at that level, because you're all in the dirt, in the water,
Yeah.
trying to survive, right? So to go back to what my younger self I would say, so, just, yes, we're all human, and just be accepting of whatever it is. But I don't know. I think, as you know, that life teaches us experiences, or what happens for us. I am not a victim, for sure, in life. And every day I just don't know. I wish I could say, oh, well, if I knew that. I think these are questions that are so hypothetical, but I don't know. I just wish that I had it early in my life, not experiences, but certain questions that we were taught to ask. I wish our schools were a little bit more aware of what we're teaching kids about. It's about this formal education stuff is just so broken everywhere in the world, that we think it's a degree, it's a certificate, it's whatever. It's not life learning. And I wish that there was ways to teach kids about life learning, and therefore they could become, better human beings, and better parents, and better friends, and better whatever. So
Yeah, I can agree with the education part, because I don't know, you grow up, you have this perfect imagination of how your life is going to be.
right.
You think you're going to first go to school, then you're going to go to college, you're going to start a family, go to work, and you have this perfect picture when you're growing up, and you're never prepared, because this information is not taught. If something to go wrong, what would you do? How to take care of yourself, how to have this positive mindset, how to anchor yourself on the present moment and not fall back in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish this is taught in schools today, to help kids prepare for, if something doesn't go well, how you're going to be, what you're going to do.
Exactly.
If you can give advice to present single parents who are overwhelmed and struggling, what could you tell them?
I mean, who am I to give advice, right? Advice is cheap. Talk is cheap. And I wish that no parent had the experiences I did. Because if you saw me here with all the people in the community that supported us, and the family that supported us, they would all tell you they just felt sorry for us too. And you don't want to be felt sorry for. So what is the offset to that? You have to know that it's easy to resort to addictions. It's easy to say, life is, killing me, and this is happening to me. And you could be a victim, you could be a complainer all day long. And anyone who knows me knows that I am not a complainer. So if someone says to me, the weather is bad, or, how could you do this? Or I go, I'm human. I do what I do. But you gotta find the courage inside you, because it's there. I'm scared of things. I'm afraid of, I was afraid for almost 3 to 6 months after my wife died, that I wouldn't wake up in the morning. So I went and asked other people, women who were single, had lost so we had this community where it was a bereavement sort of a group, and kids would get together with kids, parents would get together with parents, because they either lost a spouse or lost another family member to death. And you realize that these fears that I had about not waking up in the morning, therefore not wanting to go to bed, and therefore have an extra drink or two so that I can fall asleep. Mm-hmm. These are all very common reactions. And I realized, well, if it's common, do I accept it? Yes, you accept it, but that doesn't mean you perpetrate it. So if Joan is having the same problem that I did, because she thinks her husband, who died at the age of 45, she has 2 little kids. What is she going to, she goes, I just have an extra glass of whatever it may be to calm me down, and so I can fall asleep. But then I have to wake up in the morning because I can send the kids to school. So that's life. You got to deal with life. So you figure out, well, what is it that others face? And you say, oh, my problem is not that different. And I'm not alone in the world, because whatever has happened to me has happened to So many people out there in the past, now.
Right.
So why me? Well, why me is not a good question to ask, because why me is like, it has no real answer. You can go into a death trap with that, because there's no end to that. So just know that there is strength inside you to offset that fear, anger, frustration, whatever it may be. So my intention every morning is not to complain, but to say, God or whatever divine force, help me to communicate not just positivity, but to say, okay, if I do have negative emotions, that they don't last too long, because there's always the opposite side. And this sounds like motherhood and apple pie, frankly, but it isn't. It's just simple, and I think journaling really is a big tool. Getting enough sleep, journaling, are two practices that I feel are important. Write down the problems and the emotions you're feeling. The weather is bad. If that makes you feel bad, well, don't tell anybody else about it. Just tell yourself about it in a journal, right? Because that doesn't do anything. There's nothing you can do about the weather. There's nothing about my wife getting sick that I can do anything about, or dying. There's nothing I can do about that.
Right.
So it's just things you can control: your emotions and your thoughts, nothing else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know. That's advice. Then that's advice, but it's what I live for every day, and doesn't mean I don't make that doesn't mean I don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean I don't feel awful sometimes. I do. But I just tell myself I'm feeling awful. I don't go tell everybody else I'm feeling awful. Unless I need help. I go call my friend and say, I'm feeling really bad about something, and they just have to listen. There's nothing to do. So that's a venting. You can vent in a journal. Same thing.
Yes. I think what we can also say is forgiveness of the past is important when you are entering those negative thoughts, to forgive the situation, forgive the other person, and forgive yourself, because we can never change the past. We don't have a time machine. And for our brain, it doesn't matter if the situation is happening today or if it happened many years ago, because same parts of your brain light up. And it's like you're reliving all of your emotions that you have felt in the past, and you bring them into your present. And it's a very bad thing to do. And it's like living with baggage, constantly dreading every day. And it's very difficult to move forward when you have all that heavy weight on your shoulders.
But the heavy weightedness and because bodies are just nothing but memory of food and whatever you've encountered in life, right? Everything affects us.
Yes.
But the truth is, there is nothing that affects us. It shouldn't, because it's what is there right now is what it is. So sharpening your perception of what life is the journey, because when you see a problem as is, and I don't mean the physical side of it, it just perceiving life. You look around you, everybody's individually different and remarkably different. Every leaf is on the same tree is different. So when you start perceiving that that's just the way that is, what happened in the past has absolutely no meaning today.
Right.
So this is a constant journey for me too, looking at my calendar and saying, what is the most important thing for me to do right now? That's all there is. Now, when we finish this call, what is the most important thing for me to do right now? Then is what's important. I shouldn't be thinking about my next call. That's already outside me, right? So it's the same thing. So it's like, you live in the past. So as far as forgiveness is concerned, I mean, that's just an emotion, right? That you feel, oh, I forgave that person or forgave the situation. The body won't allow you to forget. The mind part of the body won't allow you. But you're not your mind and your body. But if you focus on who you are, which is none of those things that are physical in this body, then I think you may have understood life. And then this is all happening as an illusion of the stage in the world, and we're not here.
Right.
If we are all energies and non-physical, then hold on to that. We are non-physical. We just happen to be in these bodies and feeling the pain of this body today.
Right.
Just shun it.
What are some of the current projects that you're working on today?
So I'm a guy that loves to work on multiple projects. I don't mean multitasking. I mean like I want to do these 5, 7, 10 things.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had to learn over the past 18 months that it's not going to move the needle on anything if I just do hobby-like work. Love this, love that. So many different shiny objects out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I have had to water it down, or not a good word, not water it down. Pick specific things that I need to do this year that are legacy focused, right? That I need to do because I feel like whatever I have today, I can only do today. So my 3 blocks are effectively, one is to help others, particularly business owners and entrepreneurs, learning from my own lessons that, how to mess up your business really badly or life badly and your finances badly, how to avoid or get around some of the pitfalls. So that's one. In fact, in 2 weeks, along with a mastermind friend of ours, we are launching something called livemasterminds.com, which is live events, workshopping events with business owners and entrepreneurs, people who are wanting to grow and help others, but just make them accelerate their growth. So that's number one. Number two, I already have clients like technology companies and others who I've been helping to grow through capital, help them with capital growth. So that's sort of related, but that's another part of my business. People can find me for that business at Raju at yacapital.com. And the third thing I do that I'm focused on is finishing my memoir, which is a really life lessons around mortality, motivation coming out of mortality. So as I described, I feel like I'm only here today. I don't know what I'm going to be around tomorrow or not. So while that sounds morbid, no, I mean it's the only thing that I'm in this body to do on this earth. If I say I'm an energy, I'm non-physical mostly, and this is all happening here. Well, what is this body supposed to be doing? Well, whatever it's supposed to do. I may never finish my book. I don't know, but that's what I'm focused on, which is designed to help, share some of these things, whether as a single parent or surviving life's, car crashes and boat accidents and tsunamis of the world and muggings and all sorts of things. And several of these 6 of my experience, as I said, my children have been also involved, so they've been through some pretty dire things, and I hope they don't go through that anymore. But that's that. So those are my 3 projects.
I think that's awesome, and I congratulate you on those things. It is important to leave a legacy, and I think you're doing awesome things for people, for business people, and also overall. And writing your memoir, I think your story needs to be heard, it needs to be shared. And I heard somewhere that we are here as a vessel. We're all energy, but we're a vessel to produce something physical. I don't know where I heard it from, but that's just a saying.
Oh yeah, I've heard the vessel. I forget. I think it was either a Greek philosopher who's passed it down, and somebody now in our masterminds and other places uses a vessel. We are a vessel. But is it for physical? I mean, that's all there is while we're here, because people only see us through those 5 senses. And but living life beyond our own family and your own community and our own bodies is, I think, the biggest sense of satisfaction, because growth and self-actualization only comes once you're satisfied with your basic needs, right? So yes. I go between basic needs and that all the time. So it's a constant day-to-day striving to understand and perceive life as is. It's not easy, but it's the only way.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I think it is important, yeah, to be present, to perceive life. And I want to thank you for being with us on this podcast and sharing your story.
Not at all. Anytime. It's a pleasure. Pleasure to be helpful to whoever can benefit. I don't know. If it helps one person, then that's great. That's awesome.
Thank you.